wanted the best? We got the best. Right here, first race for the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series here for the SIM500 group here on Vidane TV. Very, very excited to have these drivers on board, and very excited to have Transervice on board as well for dual race number 1. Dual 30 lappers here tonight to set the field for next week's Daytona 500K, the fourth annual running of the Daytona 500K. Very, very excited again to have the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series debuting here on Vidane TV. I am Showtime Paul Strickland Jr., hot off the heels of the NEPS U-House Racing Designs 50 at Talladega Motor Speedway, Super Speedway rather. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Running a little bit late here tonight. Ran into some issues at customs there, or whatever the excuses are in airports. I don't really fly all that much, but I did bring the band with me. Kyle Young, Kevin England going to be calling the action here from atop the racetrack. Kyle just saw a great race over at Talladega. We're very excited to have the debut of the Transervice Cup Series here for the SIM500 group right here on Vidane TV.
That we did, Paul. Some fantastic stuff over at the Talladega Super Speedway. Now we shift gears to the sister Super Speedway track in the NASCAR world, the Daytona International Speedway. We were in ARCA cars at Dega. We're moving over to the Cup cars here tonight. Lots of drivers trying to get themselves all set up for next week's Daytona 500K. You'll have to fill us in here, Paul. I know that usually these dual races are to set the lineup, but do we have go-or-go-home drivers for this event tonight?
As a matter of fact, we do. You can look across the ticker on the top of your screen. Everybody that has their name in all capital letters, has to transfer in through this race. We heard that from League Administrator Joey Gattina earlier on tonight. Anybody with their name in full capital letters has to race their way into next week's race. So from what I understand, there's close to 55, 56 or so entries for next week's race, but we don't have that many stops, and we don't have that many pit stalls here at Daytona either. So there are going to be a couple drivers going home as that pace car dips on down, makes that hard left-hand turn. We're getting ready to go green flag racing.
Green flag flies. We are underway for our first dual race here for the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. Your front row starters, Tyler Dalton and Randy Yoakum, they are going to get up to speed and firing off the bottom line with a much better start than the top side. Tyler Dalton's going to come out to the race lead. Pedro Mojica, one of those drivers that has to qualify or race their way in tonight, he's going to take second as we got contact for position 3.
Yeah, already body contact as one driver taking evasive action down there on the bottom. 58 drivers made the call to this event, 43 starting spots. That means 7 is not the lucky number. 7 drivers not qualifying through this, and everybody's going to mind their P's and Q's and see if they can get themselves into next week's major event.
Check out that run on the very top side of the racetrack with Brian Macklin and Adam Gilliland. Those two cars hook up. Gilliland pushes Macklin all the way to the race lead, and Macklin hangs him out to drive. He takes the top spot, leads lap number 1, and now Gilliland all stuck on his lonesome on the very top side of the racetrack. He's got a hole in behind Justin Fuller. He will take it, drop down to the outside line, but man, what a hookup there by those two drivers.
Yeah, we talked about how physical that first lap was. Jeff Rhyne in that number 6 sitting there second in that outside lane. That right rear already dinged on that car, or the number 3. And I'll tell you what, these drivers, they're going to be gloves off tonight. They're going to run hard all the way through. They know how stiff the competition is, and all of them want to make the main event for next week.
There's a lot on the line for a lot of these drivers tonight. It is go or go home. You need to be up front. 30 laps is not a lot of time to work with, and unlike what we just saw in our NEPS race, there are no fast repairs in this. If you crash, you are going to be in trouble. So you have to be aggressive, but you have to find a way to manage that aggression. You don't want to make a mistake and take yourself out of an opportunity to run well in this race and not be able to take the starting grid next Monday night.
I was talking to Joey Gattina last week. He was so proud of himself for getting in there on time, and he is going to enjoy this race. He said he knows he's one of those drivers that made the cut for next week, sitting right there in that 10th position, 5th car on the outside lane. And I'll tell you what, look at these cars. That just spectacular paint schemes to open the season.
I was just thinking that myself. It's always nice to see these drivers putting their painting abilities to the test, and some gorgeous looking race cars to debut this season. Their first Well, I say sort of first official racing event. They did have a clash that they ran last week, but this one counts towards a points race. We're going to set the field for the Daytona 500K. Some drivers are going to make it in, some are going to go home, and now we are 3 wide, 2 rows deep at the front of the field. Justin Fuller and Adam Gilliland hooking up on the top side of the track. So far early here, Kevin, that front bumper of the 81 car has got something to help these people with tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Fuller winner of the event last week, and I'll tell you, the field is stacked. Seeing a good run here for Randy Yoakum early on, running in the middle of it. He pokes his nose out, and he's going to actually, well, unofficially be the leader. They usually score the lead at the line as the 30 underneath Brian Macklin. He's always up front, and he's got a strong car here. That Transervice.com Toyota leads from the bottom, and that car looks really good tonight.
Tyler Dalton does not like what he sees. He's going to pull down onto the apron and let the field go on by. No pressure for him tonight. He is locked into next week's show, so he's just going to ride to the back and try to fall in line here and just relax through this 30-lap event. But a plethora of other drivers not being able to have that leisure. They're going to continue racing on at the front of this field. The 5th lap of the race going to go into the books. Tight battle there at the front, but that lap still going to go to Brian Macklin. That outside lane starting to die off just a little bit. Adam Gilliland leads it. Behind him in the number 5 machine is Trey Eidson trying to make something work there, but for the moment the drafting not as great as it has been. They're struggling to work their way through it.
An incredible drive by a couple of drivers. 63 of Scott Senzel right now running in the 5th position, and Elliot Henderson, he has come up to the 13th position, that lime green number 37 on the outside row. He's in all capitals, which means he's got to make his way in. And I look at somebody like Pedro Mojica. Pedro is just one of those stealthy drivers, Kyle, that's always somehow fast at these super speedway races. He just knows how to pick and choose the lanes.
And he's doing a great job of showing that talent right now, running in position number 3. He's 2nd place on that bottom side. The middle lane is the one that is leading this field. That is with the 8 machine of Randy Yoakum. He's got about a fender out in front of Brian Macklin, but Macklin on that bottom side, the shorter way around this racetrack, that will prevail coming off of turn number 2, and he sticks a nose out in front. And look at the drafting help from behind. Both the 58 of Pedro Mojica and the 8 machine, or the 6 machine rather, of Jeff Ryan getting aggressive going down the back straightaway, and then as soon as they enter the turn, they let off. They relax through the turns, and they'll get right back on the bumpers coming through the straights.
Yeah, what I see here is that middle line, right tight down on the door of the car inside of them, trying to pull that side trap. And now the top line with Fuller gets a good run. Adam Gilliland on his back bumper, shoving him forward. Outside lane makes a good run. Will Fuller be able to go up and get himself out in front, drop down in front of everybody? He gets a little nervous there, and that's going to slow up their momentum on the high line as they are side by side by side by side all the way through the top of this pack.
Kevin, I don't know about you, but at least for me, it's a little bit more impressive to see a 3-wide pack at Daytona. This track not as wide as what Talladega is. It's a little bit more challenging to go 3 wide through the whole field. They've basically been that way since the drop of the green flag. We're almost a third of the way through, and they're doing a great job. They're giving each other a lot of room. They're putting on a good race. This is fun to watch.
Yeah, Fuller's been Mr. Highside this season. He's always up in that top trying to make the action go forward where nobody else is. And I look back in the pack at some of these drivers who wonder, when do you go? You're at lap number 9 of a 30-lap race. 1/3 of this race has kicked off just like that. And these drivers have to be cognizant, aware, that if they're going to make the show, the big show, they can't lay back here. You just don't have time. It's like a heat race almost. But you still have such an opportunity for the big one up front.
The racing calming down just a little bit now. That outside line dissipates, but it looks like it's going to reform coming off of turn 4. Adam Gilliland was trying to lead it, but the 13 of David Comstock wanted to lead it. So he jumps up in front. Gilliland decides to ditch him. Justin Fuller will now go with David Comstock on the top side, and the 5 of Trey Eidson, Elliot Henderson going to join. And there's also a 5th car back there that's trying to flirt with that top sideline, but just can't quite make it happen at the moment. We've got cars sliding. Hang on, they're going to save it. What a save in the middle of the field.
Unbelievable.
Mojica and Jeff Ryan almost cause a huge crash, but they keep it pointed in the right direction. We stay green.
That was astonishing that they drove out of that. That is almost always a calamity, but what it really did was stretch the entire field out. I was watching a driver like Nick Chambrone running in the 16th position. He was hanging off the back of that pack. He let off the gas. He was trying to stay back there to stay out of trouble in case something happened, but now that top group is going to drive away, and he's got to make sure that he stays at least in touch with the cars in front of him to see if he can draft back up. But you know what? They have reformed right up there in that top group. They're not going to give any quarter. They want the win here tonight.
So that makes things very interesting now for the drivers that are go or go home drivers. The top 8 cars are locked in, and then you have a group of them in positions 9 through 12 that are trying to race their way in. I don't know, Kevin, do we have any idea as to where these guys have to finish? Or is this going to be like a situation kind of in the real world Daytona duels where we don't really know who's in and who's out until that second one is complete?
I would assume that 8 spots are open tonight, and 58 total drivers, 35 locked in. We know that 7 are go home. I don't know what they say is 4 transfer out of this. So, yeah, if I have the math right, you've got to be the top 4 in capital letters. And I see one driver especially in trouble here, Milt Matisse in the number 42. That car, awful banged up after the contact. He's got the 45 right behind him, possibly a teammate of Mike Montesi helping him out. But when the car is damaged, you need to have somebody to help you out or you're going to drop back.
Fortunately for that 42 machine, he does have help from the back end. He's getting aggressive, trying to get around the 6 machine of Jeff Rhyne right there down on the bottom of the track. He backs off, allows Rhyne to come back to the bottom of the track. And now looking out behind this group, they're really starting to get a train of cars lined up here. If they can all line up, get working together, they should be able to run that pack down in front of them, and they should be able to rework and get back into one big pack. But you're starting to see some moves being made by this front pack. There's only 2 cars on the outside line. They may not want to have to worry about that. They may want to try to escape.
Yeah, really what we're looking at is the race within the race. The drivers in capital letters want to get as far forward as they can to see if they can get themselves locked into a position, and they're looking for teammates to help them. They're looking to work the draft properly. And you see this second group has come together, and I do believe they're going to be able to chase down that front group.
Yeah, and that second group is no longer single file either. They are side by side through the entire field. But if this is anything from what we saw in that Talladega race just a handful of moments ago, the side-by-side draft doesn't really hurt your progress on making pace. If you have more cars than the pack in front of you, you should be able to catch them no matter what you decide to do. So the second pack with way more cars, that lead group is only 8 cars. There's 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. It's an even match. So we'll have to pay attention to the times and see if this big pack is going to catch them.
And the good news is for that number 1 of Joey Bailey, he's an all capitals letters driver running in that 8th position in that group. That's a solid, happy place to be. And that second pack is just open that they'll be able to get back up. 15 laps of 30 down. And should note to everyone that if you saw the cars turn white, again, we have a crash over there, yellow out. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Here is caution on the speedway for first time here tonight at Daytona.
Things got a little hairy coming out of the tri-oval, and they transitioned all the way into turn number 1. There was one car that got knocked out of line. It looks like it was the 45 machine. That is Mike Montesi. He went through the tri-oval grass. He gathered it back up, was trying to rejoin the field. He did so, and once he did, looks like the 41 machine of E.J. O'Rourke made some contact, and they were on from there, Paul.
Yeah, craziness ensues here for the Fatheads Eyewear instant replay here on Verdane TV. And, man, some great racing so far here tonight. But you can see right here as we pull up the replay, just side-by-side racing all the way through. And you can see just a little bit of contact in about the middle of this pack here. You can see just kind of slides up just a bit. And as the 45 gets that hit, we'll get there in just a minute. Looks like we backed it up just a little bit. There you see 45 goes down in the grass, and he tries to come back up. Does a pretty good job. He's holding the wheel straight. He comes back up. He kind of comes up to the racetrack, the double yellow line. It looks like he gets just a little bit of a touch from one of these cars here. There it is, the 41. Check that, the 41 of E.J. O'Rourke. E.J. looks like he does almost a good job of saving it, but a couple of other cars towards the back here, the 32 involved, front end of that car looking like a modified, open wheel modified as it were. But man, just tough break, halfway through this dual race. Some of these guys, the 3 and the 52, Frank Peacock and John Fowler, have to race their way into this into next week's Daytona 500K. So really tough to see these guys get damage early on here.
And another driver that collected some damage from that one, also trying to race his way in tonight, the 98 machine of Jeff Shrewsbury. He was turned head on into the outside safer barrier, did a lot of damage to that car, and unfortunately for him, his night is going to come to a close. He will not be a part of the Daytona 500K come next Monday night, so very unfortunate there for the 98 of Jeff Shrewsbury. It also looks like we have lost the or no, that actually might just be somebody that's watching from inside the server. So at least at the moment, it appears that the only driver that has left this event from that incident is the 98 of Jeff Shrewsbury. Paul, you mentioned that the 52 of John Fowler, another go-or-go-home driver that had some contact with this one, and then the 55 machine of Frank Peacock as well, also getting taken out. So this incident having some impact on the drivers that have to race their way in. But if you're some of the guys that were ahead of this, like a Nick Shambro and a Mick Marsk or a Milt Mattis, those guys feel a little bit more comfortable because they know that some of their competition's been taken out.
Yeah, look at somebody like Pedro Mojica in that 58, sitting on the outside right now, looking in, trying to get himself collected into this. Car showing a little smoke going down the back straightaway. Not sure what that was about, but he's got a little wrinkle on the left rear, but the car doesn't look that bad. And the good news is, Kyle, if you were stuck in that second or third group, now you're caught back up with the leaders and you have a chance to run through. With a 30-lap event, you're just going to run wide open all the way through. I don't think you're going to reserve anything here tonight.
I absolutely agree with you on that one here. We're already beyond the halfway point in this event. We are seeing the lights being shut off on top of the iRacing pace car, so we're going to go green the next time by with 12 laps remaining in this first dual race. The front row, as we have it, we've got Brian Macklin and Adam Gilliland. We've seen these two drivers very strong in this event so far. They're going to line up next to each other on the front row. David Comstock and Randy Yoakum are going to be positions 3 and 4. Justin Fuller completes the top 5 with Scott Stenzel in 6th. Trey Eidson is in 7th. Joey Bailey, our first go-or-go-home car, is in 8th. Nick Shambrone, go-or-go-home car number 2, is in 9th. And we have Nicholas Cohan in 10th, completing your top 10.
This is actually a blessing for some of those drivers back there. I see the 42 of Milt Matisse running right now in the 19th position. That car was all caved in and damaged, able to go to pit road, get some damage banged out. Maybe that car will run a little better in the draft. And he's going to pick up Pedro Mojica right there next to him. So the two of them possibly going to look to see if they can go up and sneak in and take a couple of those positions. 4 cars out of this race, race number 1, duel number 1, transfer into next week's main event. And then if you stay right with us here, duel number 2 with good names, Chad Coleman, Jose Gonzalez, Josh Parker, Jimmy Coleman, and others in that event for race number 2. It's going to be as good. And those drivers are watching what's going on here, Kyle, to see how event number 1 unfolds, to see if they can figure out the strategy to win event number 2.
That's absolutely the benefit of the drivers in dual race number 2. They're getting an opportunity to sit back, see how this one unfolds, and see what they can learn to make their dual race better than what they can see on the track right now. The green flag flies. We're back underway. 12 laps to go here in dual race number 1. The bottom side immediately goes to a better push between Brian Macklin, David Comstock, and Justin Fuller. The 8 machine of Randy Yoakum trying to get to that back bumper of Adam Gilliland, but he's unsuccessful in doing so, and Macklin and Comstock are going to try to clear and will clear the 81 of Gilliland as they come off at 2.
Nicholas Cohan was in that high line, dropped down to the double yellow line. He's going to run in that 9th position right now. He's the first car running single file, and they're trying again to get that outside lane going. And who's it going to be up there? It's a number 63 of Scott Stenzel trying to get his way in. He had a good race last week. He's locked into the race next week. He gets abandoned by his dance partner, though, the number 1 of Joey Bailey. Bailey has to go. He just has to run wide open all the way through. and he just decided to go forward as far as he can get.
Joey Bailey leading the group of cars that are trying to race their way in tonight, and you hit it perfectly there, Kevin. He has to take any opportunity he can to gain a position. He's got some comfort right now being the leader of the group that has to race their way in, but we all know that with a super speedway, things can happen very quickly. You can get hung out to dry. We saw that happen with Adam Gilliland in the beginning of this race. He was very aggressive in pushing people to the front, but once he lost that help on the top side, he freight trained all the way to the back of the field. So lots of aggression being shown out of that one machine of Joey Bailey right now, doing a great job running in 8th and trying to race his way into the Daytona 500K.
I have to give a call to the Patriot Fire Camaro, David Comstock. David started in the 26th position, currently scored in the 4th position on the scoring monitor. He's the 3rd car on the inside line, tucked right in the back bumper of Macklin, who's been fast all night long. And yeah, good run for that number 13 in a short period of time.
So we're just getting the confirmation now for sure that the top 4 drivers of the Go or Go Home group of drivers are the ones who will transfer on. So we will take 4 in this race. We will take 4 in the next race. If you are outside of the top 4 amongst the Go or Go Homers, well, you are going to go home. So appreciate the confirmation on that one. 9 laps to go. Justin Fuller is in the lead on the bottom of the racetrack with Brian Macklin all over the rear bumper of that ride. Macklin now looking to the top side. Oh, and we've got a crash. Some cars are spinning in turn number 1, and the caution flag is going to come out. I think that was the 42 machine of Milt Matisse is involved. There you can see the 3 of Jeff Ryan. He's got some damage, and I believe there was another car or 2 that were also caught up in that one.
Big bada boom here at Daytona International Speedway. Lots of wrecks at, well, don't want to say lots of wrecks. Only been a couple of incidents here tonight, but we'll take a look from the chopper view. You can focus in on that black number 3. Starts up on the high side and actually finishes down on the low side. It looks like the 42 clipped the apron down on the bottom and came back up into that 3 car. We'll back that up one more time, different camera angle, kind of take a peek at it. And here you can see some great racing, a little bit of a mishap there from Joey Katina up in the top in the 14, the 37. But there you see the 42. It just looks like that car makes a hard right turn up into the number 3. We almost want to take a look at that from the cockpit view. It may very well have been a flat tire or something that broke on Milt Matisse's car here on the 42, as we can see.
I think if you look at that, Paul, from a checkup, the 32 looks like he got into the 14. The 14 went up high, and everybody kind of bound up behind it. Little tag from the 32 to the 14.
Oh, there it is. Didn't even see it on the monitor. It was must have been a piece of gum or something on that. You're exactly right. See it down there, and man, just a couple of tore up race cars up on the top side. It actually looks like both the 43 or the 42 rather of Milt Matisse has retired from the race, so won't make it to the big dance next Monday night, unfortunately.
Yeah, also same for Joey Gittini. He was hanging in there in that top 10, having a great run in that number 14. I think he slapped the wall with the right side. Maybe he'll go get the crew to bang that out and keep soldiering ahead for this, but he was having a good run here tonight. Is they're going to re-rack him, and laps are running out, Kyle. Running out of time for some of these drivers.
Indeed, we are. We're going to have about 4 or 5 laps to go once we get the green flag to resume this first duel race. Justin Fuller is still your race leader. Him and Brian Macklin have been up front virtually for the majority of this event. They both started towards the middle of the field, but it did not take them long to find some help and get to the front of the field. They have stayed there ever since. You've already made mention, Kevin, about the moves that David Comstock has made. He is up 23 positions right now from his starting spot of 26th. And you would think that for some of these guys that are locked in, that they don't have anything to lose, that this race doesn't really matter much to them. That couldn't be anything further from the truth. These top 3 cars that have made moves through the field, they're getting a great understanding of how the draft works, how the car handles underneath of them, and the lessons that they are learning tonight could help them go to victory lane in next week's big show.
Heck, they just want to win, Kyle. Around here on the track, it's the beginning of a new season. It's a shiny new toy. They want to win. And the other thing, I think, I will agree with you that they're learning something. They're also learning to find dance partners for next week. If you run well with somebody, you're going to lock that into the vault. And remember, Is this guy good behind me? Am I a good pusher? Is the person stable going into the corner? You're taking notes for the big show next week. Everybody's paying attention to who's around them and what's going on. But now it's going to get serious, because when you have just a handful of laps, everybody's going to be sitting up on the wheel.
So the field working their way down the tri-oval now, expecting to see the lights on top of the iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car to go off, and will give us 5 laps to go once we go back to green flag racing, and that is exactly what will happen. So the field will double up, and we will get set to go from here. So we had some of the go-or-go homers involved in that incident as well. So by my count, I believe we currently have 5, 6, about 6 cars that are still left amongst the go-or-go homers. 6 cars trying to fight for those 4 transfer positions.
Yeah, and the surprise has to be Pedro Mojica running back there in the 14th position. Pedro is such a strong driver. He's on the out right now. We also see, well, actually, they just reset the thing. Is Pedro in? Yeah, Pedro is the first car in. Do I have that right? Has the timing updated?
It appears he's the last one in. The last one remaining, the fourth transfer position.
Yeah, so you're right. Right now, he's sitting there in a tenuous position. He's got John Fowler and Donny Lia. Yes, that Donny Lia back there behind him. And all Pedro has to do is look in the mirror and make sure that those two don't get to him. Yeah, Pedro wants to win, but he also wants to make the show.
And good news for Pedro Mojica is that the 29 of Donny Lia and the 52 of John Fowler both have damage to their race cars. So it could potentially come down to who gets wrecked last if it stays green the rest of this way. Again, by my count, it looks like we have 6 go. Why am I struggling with that tonight? Go or go home cars that are still on the racetrack. The back 2 have some damage, and we are about ready to go back to green.
Yeah, you have these 2 prize fighters up front, both of them super capable of winning. Fuller's going to kick it off. Macklin got a huge shot, but Fuller's going to be able to drive forward with a great push from Comstock as they go into turn number 1. The inside lane has the charge down there on the double yellow, and Macklin has lost his dancer partner, the 81 of Gilliland. He's going to drop down there and pick up that 3rd slot as now Macklin comes down to make it single file down the back straightaway.
Gilliland makes the pass on Macklin, then tries to go to the top side afterwards. Macklin does go with him. Looked like he was going to ditch him and return the favor and go to the bottom, but now Macklin going to get latched up with the 81 of Adam Gilliland, and they're going to make the charge to the top side. They've got some help from the UPS number 1 of Joey Bailey trying to make that top side work. It's a 3v3 battle, and at the line it'll be Adam Gilliland to lead it with 4 laps to go.
Yeah, it makes me nervous for these drivers who have to make the field that are up in there, because these other drivers, they've got nothing to lose. They want to win, and they're going to run hard. If they have to wreck themselves, they'll do it. And if I'm looking at Bailey and I'm looking at Chambrone, I just want to get to the finish line with a handful of laps. Please, guys, keep those cars heading in the right direction.
2 strong lines of cars racing their way into turn number 3, the outside line with a slight advantage. Their group of 4 lined up a little bit better than the group down on the bottom, but some more cars starting to enter the fray here. Oh, and a big shot to the outside wall goes the 32 of Shane Ewing. He gets turned head-on into the outside wall, makes a big hit with the front end of that Camry. Hard impact, and the caution flag comes out.
Big impact from that wreck. Holy moly. Very violent right-hand turn here. And that's definitely something you don't want to see at Daytona, whether it's simulated or real racing. Going to focus in on the 32 of the Shane Ewing car. As Kyle may mention, it looks like it was a nasty bump. We're going to take a look at it from afar just to see how big that was. We kind of saw it live just a bit. You can see he comes across the nose of the 5 car and just hits the outside wall, and then the back end of the car goes right into the front end of the 5 car. Huge hit there. Take one more look at it here. We can actually take a view here from the drone view that we have here at ANTV, and here you can see it's the 31 down, or the 32 rather, down on the low side. The number 5 bright number 5 on the high side there, and we round this just a little bit too far. But as he tries to go up on the high side here, 5 cars there, and just comes right across the nose of the 5 car. There you see it, and boom. Hard impact. So, tough break for a couple of guys. Still looks like Donny Lia, John Fowler in the back of the pack having to race their way in. Looking at timing and scoring right now, Joey Bailey, Nick Chambrone, Nick Marsky, and Pedro Mojica going to be the 4 drivers that transfer in. But we still got a green-white checkered here, boys.
Well, and the problem here with those go-or-go homers is that Pedro Mojica was involved in that incident, and now the front end of that number 58 machine is completely non-existent. So he did not choose to come down to pit road that last time by. He may try to ride this one out here, Kevin, and just see what he can do, like his wounds, and hopefully he can transfer in. There you can see at the front end of that 58 machine, it has seen better days, and that is not going to be an easy car to race with for this green-white checkered finish.
Yeah, that is not a lucky one here at Daytona with the draft and everything being so important. But I have to say, I was watching the 29 of Donny Lia to see whether or not he had anything for these guys, and he was way off the pace. The good news for him is when that incident occurred, he was able to just check up and drive through it cleanly. But that 29 Transervice Toyota is down a cylinder or something, that car not up to speed. So yeah, this is going to be a nail biter to see who's going to make it into the show. Will Pedro be able to hold on? Will Donny Lia be able to sneak by him? And, who knows? Maybe somebody else will come up there and steal that last qualifying position.
So we will go into a green-white checkered finish. We'll have 2 attempts to do so. Same ordeal as what we had just mentioned with the NEPS race. If the caution comes out on the first lap, we'll go again and try for our second attempt. If we get the white flag, we'll be good to race it all the way out to the finish. Looks like at the moment we have 21 cars that are on the lead lap. I believe everybody that is on the racetrack at the moment is on the lead lap. I believe that all the drivers off of the lead lap have retired from this event. So, and as the field works the way around the pit entrance once again, Kevin, Pedro Mojica decides to stay out again, and the lights go off on the pace car. He has made his bed, and now he has to lie on it. He is not going to make a pit stop. He's going to try to limp that 58 car to a starting spot in the next week's Daytona 500K.
You have to wonder if Pedro's up there with his spotter trying to talk to every driver behind him, saying, somebody please just hook on my back bumper and push me through to the win here for the qualifying. As I look up front, I see one notice on that number 30, the Macklin car. The back bumper caved in a little bit. Wonder if somebody's been beating on that TV panel a little bit too much, as he's now dropped back to third. And got to give a call to Comstock, has had a really good race here and is still in the mix to get a win here at the first duel of the season.
Half a lap from going green for our first attempt at a green-white checkered finish. Adam Gilliland and Justin Fuller are currently your top 2 drivers. Then David Comstock is 3rd, Brian Macklin 4th, and Randy Yoakum completing your top 5. Running in 6th place and leading the group of drivers trying to race their way in tonight is the one machine of Joey Bailey. Scott Stenzel is in 7th, Nick Chambrone is 8th, and the second driver trying to race his way in. Nicholas Cohan is in 9th, and Mick Marsky completing the top 10 and 3rd in the line of cars trying to come in. Pedro Mojica, as we mentioned, he currently holds that 4th and final transfer spot. He is in position number 11, but a lot of damage on the front end of that 58 machine. We will see how well he can limp that car to the finish. Will it be enough for him to make the Daytona 500K? He has 2 cars behind him that are still trying to race their way in, but they too have some damage to their vehicles. This should be fun. Pace car goes to pit road. Here we go. Green-white checkered attempt number 1. We're going to try to go for 32 laps. Green is out, and we are back to racing. Great start by the bottom for Adam Gilliland and David Comstock. They will shoot out to the early race lead as they come up through the gears and approach turn number 1.
Donny Lia to the outside coming through. He's going to drive past Pedro Mojica. He's hooked on the back bumper of the draft of the 41 for E.J. O'Rourke, and he's going to find himself sliding into that position. Is bad gamble by Mojica, but there's really nothing he could do. Lia able to hold on to the back of that draft, and we look like we have settled who that top 4 is going to be. Let's go up and see who's going to win this race.
Adam Gilliland with the advantage on the bottom of the racetrack. Justin Fuller trying to get the push from the 30 of Brian Macklin behind him. They'll come off at turn number 4 and see the white flag. One more lap around the Daytona International Speedway. Who will lead the race when they come back around? It's Gilliland leading the bottom. Justin Fuller leading the top side. The bottom has more cars, but the top side with a great draft. Brian Macklin all over the back bumper of Justin Fuller.
Comstock a little sideways going into turn number 1, but now he's stuck right on the back bumper of your leader. They're still door to door going down the back straightaway. This is anybody's race. It's going to break out over on the other side of the speedway as they come back to the finish. It could be anybody in this top 6 for the win.
Justin Fuller had the advantage going into turn number 3, but here comes the push from David Comstock to Adam Gilliland to propel him out front. Fuller comes down and makes contact with David Comstock. The 30 machine of Brian Macklin blows up. There goes the top side, crashing through the infield. Adam Gilliland will win dual race number 1 here for the Transervice Cup Series for the SIM500 League. He will win over David Comstock in second. Justin Fuller finishes third. Randy Yoakum is fourth. And completing your top 5 and racing his way into the Daytona 500K is the number 1 of Joey Bailey. Scott Stenzel finishes 6th. 7th is Chris Gabot. 8th place finisher is Mick Marsk. He will race next Monday night. Nicholas Cohan is 9th, and completing your top 10 is EJ O'Rourke.
Following up on that 4th and final driver to make the cut here in this first one is Nick Chambrone in the number 18th. He finished 14th in this event. Good enough to get him into the show as John Fowler finishes 15th and misses it by just that much. First alternate is John Fowler in the number 52.
It always sucks to come up short, but what a performance that these guys put on. An exciting finish to this first dual race. And notice, Kevin, that I did just say the first dual race. We still got another 30 laps to go, my friend.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. This was a good race, and I know, looking at the stack in the second race, that we're going to have just as good a show. So ready to cue them up. Let's go.
So as the drivers from race number 1 make their way down to pit road and get ready to hand things over to the drivers in dual race number 2, we will grab a quick word with our Duel 1 winner, Adam Gilliland. Adam, what a show that you put on here in this first dual race. Showed a lot of aggression early on. Was not afraid to get on the back bumper and make some drafting work happen. You come to the front of the field and you win this race. What were you able to learn here in this 30-lap duel?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Just, got to be aggressive. I've had a lot of success kind of tracks, aggressive. Sorry, let me fix my mic. I've had a lot of success at these tracks, being aggressive and racing up at the front rather than riding around. That was my whole goal tonight, was to learn how aggressive I could be with the pushes and make my way up to the front, and that's what we did. So looking forward to Monday.
So now that you've got one race completed, you get to sit on the sidelines and get the perspective from watching this second one. Do you feel like there's anything else that you can learn from being able to watch this second duel, or is it better to just get out there and learn everything that you can from inside the car?
You got different drivers in different races, so I don't know how much you can learn from Duel 2, because some guys might choose to ride around a little more than others. I think the biggest thing I'm going to be looking forward to seeing is if the third lane develops. It's really only there if you get 5 or 6 friends to go with you, but I'll be interested to see if that works in the second race, because it didn't seem like a factor tonight.
We did see you utilize that top line throughout some of this race, and it seems like these cars are very capable of being aggressive on bump drafting. And what was that like? How are these cars moved around in the draft, and can you get aggressive being on the bumpers?
I felt like I was able to be pretty aggressive with the front bumper. The only guy I seemed like I got squirrely was Justin Fuller. I don't know if that's a connection thing or what, but he seems to think it's, because I'm running the Chevy and it's got a little more pointed nose. But you can definitely be aggressive. These things are like tanks, and you can give them a good shot and they really won't move. So just got to be aggressive, and you do have to lift a little bit, if you've got like a 6 or 7 mile an hour run. But other than that, you can be as aggressive as you want.
Well, it sounds like there are a lot of things in the notepad for next Monday night. You're going to have a great starting spot for the Daytona 500K. Anybody that you'd like to thank for this duel win tonight?
Yeah, just got to thank Scott Stenzel and Personal Comfort. They're going to be the full-time sponsor this year on my car, and 4 of my other teammates' cars as well. So really, really thankful to have them on board. Looking forward to running them all year and having some more success like tonight.
It's off to a great start. Winner of the first duel in tonight's SIM500 Transervice Cup Series dual races, the 81 machine of Adam Gilliland. Getting things switched over for the second dual race. Very exciting stuff in that first one. I'm looking forward to getting in here and racing for duel number 2. So while we get things transferred on over, we're going to take ourselves a quick commercial break to get everything all connected and wired up for all of you for the second of 2 dual races here for the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with dual race number 2 in a few moments.
What's one of the biggest challenges of managing a fleet of trucks, tractor trailers, and material handling equipment? Hassling with maintenance, repair, and vehicle breakdown. Transervice's dedicated contract maintenance service, DCM, takes that hassle away. We maintain your fleet, no matter what the configuration, to the highest standards, while giving you the greatest cost control. We offer preventative maintenance executed to maximum utilization, equipment life, and necessary repairs, all tracked by a state-of-the-art paperless computerized system. Assistance with equipment engineering, configuration, including new engine technology, and onboard computers for your fleet, as well as dedicated fleet contract maintenance. Dedicated on-site service facilities staffed with management and certified maintenance technicians, inventories of parts, tires, and fluids, and all necessary shop equipment, diagnostic tools, and technology. Supporting services such as equipment inspections and assistance with meeting regulatory requirements, DOT, OSHA, EPA. Contact us today to learn about our turnkey contract maintenance solutions. It's all about the experience, yours and ours. What's one of the biggest challenges of managing a fleet of trucks, tractor trailers, and material handling equipment? Hassling with maintenance, repair, and vehicle breakdown. Transervice's dedicated contract maintenance service, DCM, takes that hassle away. We maintain your fleet, no matter what the configuration, to the highest standards, while giving you the greatest cost control. We offer preventative maintenance executed to maximum utilization, equipment life, and necessary repairs, all tracked by a state-of-the-art paperless computerized system. Assistance with equipment engineering, configuration, including new engine technology, and onboard computers for your fleet, as well as dedicated fleet contract maintenance. Dedicated on-site service facilities staffed with management and certified maintenance technicians, inventories of parts, tires, and fluids, and all necessary shop equipment, diagnostic tools, and technology. Supporting services such as equipment inspections and assistance with meeting regulatory requirements, DOT, OSHA, EPA. Contact us today to learn about our turnkey contract maintenance solutions. It's all about the experience, yours and ours.
Welcome back to the SIM500 Cup Transervice Dual Race number 2. Field is rolling around Daytona International Speedway as we get prepped for another 30-lap event. We'll give you your lineup real quick here. Tommy Rhyne's going to start on the pole. Tim Johnson's going to start second. Jason Barham in third. Chad Coleman will start in that fourth position. Jose Gonzalez in fifth. Josh Parker starts in the sixth spot. Seventh is Brian Cook. TJ Beverly is going to be in eighth. Cook and Beverly, that row, need to race their way in. Ninth position for Jimmy Cole. Bob Gillenwater, another one of those drivers that has to race their way into the event next week. Then Thomas O'Leary. Josh Williams, another driver looking to see if he can submit there, starting for next week's lineup. Nelson Rivera is next. Stefan Marinak, Jimmy North, Byron Daley, and Don Runkle all looking to race their way in. Richard Beasley in the Tide Ride. He rides next, as Kyle Traska, Bobby Wetzel, Scott Simley, Kevin Brown, Doug Roth, Gail Brooks, Glenn Campbell, all qualified for next week's event. Rounding out your field for the transfer, these 4 drivers also trying to race their way in: A.J. Browning, Brandon Hughes, Eric Arnold, and Tommy Gossett Jr. The field collected behind the pace car here as they roll out of turn number 4 getting ready. It's going to be Tommy Rhyne in that number 99 starting us off here tonight, Kyle. And I suspect this race will be as elbows up as the last one we just watched.
I tend to agree with you there, Kevin. There are some stacked names in this series, in this race right here, that are trying to race their way into this event. You got Josh Williams, no stranger at all to the NASCAR stuff here on iRacing, very competitive driver. How about Stefan Marinak, one of the playoff drivers in the Vidane Racing SIM500 Super Speedway Series? He has to race his way in tonight. Byron Daley, a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series driver who is trying to race his way in here. So if we thought that first duel was anything to be widely entertained with, this one could have the potential to even top that first race.
Yeah, and we have to note you don't see a pace car here in order to get the lineup, custom lineup, to get these drivers who ran times last week in the right order. They're not going to have a pace car here. It's going to be up to Tommy Rhyne to kick the field off and take them back into green as the lights are still on here. We are not ready to kick this event off. The officials, Kyle, just giving these drivers last-minute instructions, getting them ready for tonight's event, just making sure that the start is going to be clean, everybody in their right position. They've got to get everything right before they let the field loose.
So just tuning into some of the race control communication right now is the drivers are saying that apparently we may have an issue with our pace car, and we may be on the move to another server here. So we're just trying to sit tight here for just a little bit just to see exactly what is going to happen. But the communication coming through race control right now is that we're supposed to be green, but our pace car driver has decided to take a lunch break and is just hanging out on the exit of pit road instead.
Yeah, starting to hear that chatter go back and forth. And again, looking at these cars, a lot of the new paint schemes we saw from last week. We should update you on the race event from last week. It was won by Fuller, and he just kind of took it to him, Kyle. He was out front, started himself all the way through, and just held bay over top of these drivers and had a good race. And we just saw him in the last event, and as he said, a strong field in here with drivers like Josh Parker and Bobby Wetzel and others. We're going to have to see where race officials take this. We may have to take a short break and reset the deck here to get ourselves a pace car, as it does not look like they're going to give the ability for Tommy Rhyne to give us a start here. We'll see if the officials can pull up some magic here as they come through the tri-oval one more time. Still see the yellow lights flashing. So what I notice is there is a pace car down there to the left. I wonder if they drive through pit road and pit, whether the pace car would come out and pick up the field.
Yeah, I gotta say that I don't think this is something that I have seen in my time of being an iRacing announcer. Since we got the opportunity, Paul, I guess we can bring you in on this one. Kind of reminds me a little bit, I believe it was with the SIM500 guys, where during that Classic Cup Series, we had a race that had to be predetermined because of darkness on a racetrack that had no lights. We might be adding another one to the list here of strange occurrences on Vidane TV.
Yeah, actually texting back and forth with league official Joey Gattina trying to figure out what's going on. They can't get that. They don't know where the pace car driver is. You won't get that thing off pit road. He's just kind of sitting on the back end there. So just kind of shooting a text back and forth with race official and league owner Joey Gattina, trying to figure out exactly what went down. Had a pretty solid race earlier on in that first duel race, but man, you can look at these drivers and you can see that they're at least doing a pretty good job of holding a clean line. But it looks like we're gonna pretty much abandon this server and essentially reset the server. So what that means is these drivers are gonna get the opportunity to kind of pull over, and what they'll do is they'll kind of back out of the server, jump into the next one. We'll make sure that everybody has the opportunity to join back up. So gives us a few moments to kind of talk back and forth a little bit here, and I mean, really, we can review the first duel race for the Transervice Duels.
Yeah, looking at that first race, it was an exciting race. We had what we thought we were going to see. Some action, some crashes, but we also saw some really strong races. And I look at a couple drivers who showed me something there in that first event. David Comstock in the number 13 finished second. We didn't get a chance to talk to him, but had a super strong run. And how about Randy Yoakum in the 8? Randy likes, to my knowledge, these super speedway races, but Randy's not a guy that has the lady luck of super speedways on his side, and he finished a solid 4th in that event. He's going to have a good start for next week's event, Kyle.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we saw out of that first dual race is how easy it is to work your way through the field. A lot of the drivers that we saw finish up towards the front of that race started deep on the starting grid, and it didn't take them long to make those passes. We saw in that opening lap how big of a run that Adam Gillen and Brian Macklin had on the very top side of the racetrack, and asking Adam how that draft on the top side was working, he really feels like you're going to need to get some numbers up on the top of the racetrack in order to be able to make that line work. We saw that happen in the next race about an hour or so ago, that when the cars were lined up there, it actually had prevalence over the bottom lane. So despite it being a bit of a different racetrack, it still seems that the drafting package allows that top side to be very strong if you have the numbers up there to work with.
Yeah, and we saw a couple different strategies. Some people hung back, some people tried to run out front, and that's the same play that you always see in different restrictor plate racing. There's really no great way to beat the system, Kyle, and nothing emerges. But I do look at a couple drivers like Scott Stenzel. He finished 6th in that event. Chris Jabou in the number 22 came up, finished 7th, good top 10 run for them. These are drivers that, as we progress through SIM500, you see some of these drivers, they come in, they get acclimated, they come into seasons, they run strong, they have good events, then they have weak events and whatever. But sooner or later, they come back after that sophomore year, that junior year, and they become contenders. They just come from, where did they come from? Is this the start of seeing some drivers like Scott Stenzel and others come in and possibly dominate the season?
So, Kevin, I know that you're a little bit more familiar with this series, and we've got this series each and every Monday night throughout the entirety of this season. What are some of the things that we can expect out of this series? There's a lot of hype, a lot of attention that comes with this series, a lot of strong drivers, great competition, and of course, with it being the beginning of the NASCAR season, there's a lot of hyped up anticipation for this to happen, for this time to come around. Drivers are excited, fans are excited, and sim racers are excited because stuff like this is coming around, and it's really about showcasing the talents that are in this series and putting on a great show. And now we get to be a part of it.
Yeah, next week kicks off the hallowed halls of Daytona. For these drivers, it's the Super Bowl just like it is in the real world. And they're going to race all the way through to November 8th, where the championship is held at Atlanta Motor Speedway here. And we have some mix of new stuff going on this year, and drivers love a fresh new season. They love it because whatever happened last year, good luck, bad luck, vacation in the middle, didn't get it's a clean slate. And, drivers come and race this SIM500 series because this is where the good drivers are. This is a stepping stone to the big leagues. This is the big leagues where you said some of the drivers that run in the top echelon of the sport come in here and race on these Monday nights. Next week, we're racing for a $100 prize pool. There's several $100 prize pools throughout. These drivers want to be a part of the SIM500 fabric, and we'll see a lot of drivers come in this season trying to even just make the race and make a name for themselves. SIM500's been around forever. It's one of the more veteran series out there in sim racing. It's got a name and a history, and drivers, they feel like they want to be a part of this show.
Man, if that doesn't get you hyped up for what we're about to see throughout this year, I don't know what will. Each and every Monday night, we will be able to bring the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series to you. So thankful to have them aboard with us for their 2021 season. And thankful to have all of you tuning in and watching us as well, whether you're on Facebook, our YouTube channel. Great to have you along with us. It's been a great ride for us over this winter off season. I know all of us are very excited to get the real world racing scene back up and running. But we're not going to stop. We got plenty of shows upcoming throughout the beginning of racing season, and things are on the rise for Verdane TV, and we're glad to help bring some of these leagues like this SIM500 Transervice Cup Series to light for all of the viewers and help expose their talents, expose their series, and continue to do that for as many opportunities that we can throughout iRacing.
So for those of you just tuning in, we're resetting the server, a little glitch where we could not get that pace car to come out and lead the field and take us to green. So they're just going to do a little, sometimes the gremlins come in, but we're happy you've come to join us. The Transervice Cup Series dual race number 2 is on tap, and we're excited to bring it to you. It's a strong field, Kyle. A lot of good drivers in here, but a couple relative unknowns for us. Some rookies and some younger drivers coming in trying to make a name for themselves. And a lot of them have to be on pins and needles trying to see if they can make this Daytona big race.
Well, I think that's part of the fun, too, with the start of a new season is that you get some new names that come in and names that some of these drivers, even some of the drivers that aren't familiar with, that are entering the series as rookies, trying to make a name for themselves and trying to enter the mix into the championship fight. You mentioned fresh start for everybody, whether you came off of the season championship, you just missed out, or you were nowhere close. Maybe you weren't a full-time driver last season. Maybe you couldn't get out of your own way. Whatever it is, it's a fresh slate for everybody. Everybody believes that they can win this Daytona 500K, and that's the beauty of the season, is that everybody has the utmost confidence in themselves, in their race team, in their teammates, in their abilities. And we get to see them put that all on the line and see who will be able to come out on top to start the season off so strong.
Yeah, we look at some of these drivers as we're just trying to see where we stand for getting things reset. Drivers that have to make their way in here tonight. Some of them are names we know, and some of them are new names to us. Brian Cook is going to start up in the top. DJ Beverly right behind him. The veteran Bob Gillenwater, the number 4, is going to make a run, try to get into the show. Josh Williams, Stefan Marinak, as you said before. We've seen him race before. We know he can get the job done. But, all these other drivers, Jimmy North, Byron Daley, Don Runkle, they want to get into the show, and all of them are going to be elbows up. And this is the great equalizer, Kyle. Racing a track that has restrictor plate racing, it's all about the big chess match. You can beat superior drivers if you play your game right.
The draft has always been the great equalizer here at Daytona International Speedway, and it creates some of the most exciting racing in the real world NASCAR, and it does the same here on the iRacing service. It's so hard to put it into words, just how dramatic and unpredictable that this stuff can be. And it gives some drivers an opportunity that, well, maybe they aren't the best short track racer. Maybe they aren't the best mile-and-a-half guy. Maybe they hate road courses, but they have the talents on these super speedways to be able to contend and be able to challenge for victories. And I'm assuming, Kevin, that this is just like it is in the real world series. You get that win and you're going playoff racing. It's race number 1 of the season, but it has implications that can last throughout the entire season and into the championship right off the get-go.
Yeah, winning, you're in, and a lot of these drivers would love to get that win early in the season, lock themselves into the point chase later this race season. And, it's a long season. There's a lot of races. When you have 36 races in the season, there's a lot of opportunities, but a lot of drivers are looking for a fresh start. As the good news is we have the new server fired up. We're just going to finish up a little bit of warm-up here, and we'll be able to take us into the main event. We appreciate your patience following through. with us here as we get ready for the SIM500 Cup Transervice Dual Race number 2 at Daytona International Speedway. And Kyle, this is going to be a good one.
Indeed, it is. Just getting things fired up here and ready to go. And I can only imagine what's going through the minds of some of these drivers. You know, you think that you're just about ready to go racing, and especially the go-or-go homers where the nerves are on and knowing that you have to race your way and you're not guaranteed to make the show. Then you have to wait an extra amount of time to be able to run the race. And now it looks like things are about ready to get rocking and rolling, and we'll be on our way to answering the questions of who's going to be in, who's going to be out, and, of course, who's going to go to victory lane in this second duel.
Yeah, and we have to remember these drivers set the grid by timing in. I don't know about you, but if you ever try to run your time, sometimes you're good at it and other times you aren't. Running time lapse at Daytona is a pseudoscience. I just don't know sometimes how you figure it out. And some of these drivers that have raced their way in by time, Richard Beasley, Kyle Taraska, Bobby Wetzel, Scott Simley, they're breathing a sigh of relief when all of this uncertainty occurs. And look, there's a pace car in front of that field. It bends your nerves a little bit. They have to be really smiling knowing that they're already in next week's show, and they're here to have fun.
Indeed, they are. We saw a lot of those locked-in drivers laying it out on the line in that first duel and just trying to have some fun and see what they can learn and hoping to better themselves for next week's race. And next week is going to be a totally different animal. We're only running for 30 laps here tonight. We're running for 500 kilometers next week, which I think equates to about 300 miles. I think somewhere around the neighborhood of 120 laps or so. So it's not a full distance 500 miler, but boy, that is sure a lengthy race. And it'll take a completely different mindset to be successful in the main show next week than what it is tonight during these duels.
So we have cleared the gremlins. The cars have rolled off. They're following behind the pace car. Lights are out, and we're going to get this started again. We'll just quickly give you your top 10 as a reminder for tonight's event. Tommy Rhyne's on the pole. Timothy Johnson is in second. Jason Barham in third. Chad Coleman fourth. Jose Gonzalez starts fifth. Sixth is Josh Parker in the number 23. Brian Cook has to race his way in. He starts seventh on his outside. DJ Beverly outside row 4. He also has to run his way in the 0-1. Jimmy Coleman starts ninth. Bob Gillenwater starts 10th. And this is where the butterflies are the highest, Kyle. These drivers, they just want to get racing.
Always a little nerves pre-race, but once the green flag flies, once you get rocking and rolling, the nerves seem to go away, and it just becomes natural. You just start racing and figuring it all out. The nerves go away, and then once you start getting towards the finish of the race and things become on the line and you know that your opportunities are starting to run out, that's when it starts to get a little bit more nerve-wracking, and at that point, it's go or go home time. You have to figure it out. You have to find a way to be successful. And if you don't, you could be looking on the outside going in. So we had a little bit of a delay, Kevin, but we are ready to go this time. We have a pace car. It is on pit road. Tommy Rhyne is ready to go. We are about ready to get things rocking and rolling here. Just kidding. We're going to go one more lap.
Yeah, just to be clear, they want to make sure they have the lineup right, so they're going to let everybody run around here. But quote unquote, we're under green. They will run the first lap under caution, but it is a green flag scored lap, and when they come around, they will release the field to Tommy Rhyne. And to your point, Kyle, as a sim racer, someone who understands this, I sometimes enter into a race with specific mindset. I'm ready to go. I'm going to conquer this thing, and then something happens midway, and it becomes a basket case all the way through. It's such a psychological game sometimes to just keep your mojo in some of these races.
Well, that's one of the most important things to being successful in super speedway racing is to try to keep a calm head and not get too upset with things that happen on the racetrack. Overreaction, mental mistakes, mental breakdowns are how you get yourself into trouble in these races. So it's all about staying calm, staying focused on the task at hand, and just being able to adapt to the situations and the surroundings that happen to you during your race. If you can do all that, chances are you're going to have a great opportunity to be successful on the track.
Yeah, there comes a time when you just got to go for it, right? But sometimes you end up kicking yourself as you make a certain move that you regret, or you get damaged that you've run the whole race trying to protect yourself, and you end up getting into one little incident where you scrape the wall, and then you just wreck your whole race. But you know what? Doesn't matter now. Here we go. They're just about to kick it off, and I'm excited to see this thing start.
So here we go. Green flag getting ready to fly. There it is. We are finally underway with dual race number 2. Tommy Rhyne in car number 99 jumps out to a big lead. He's clear of the top sideline. Big hole left behind Tommy Rhyne, but your outside pole sitter Timothy Johnston does not decide to take it. Now they're going to go 3 wide. Chad Coleman going to the top side, and he's got help from Josh Parker in the 23.
Josh Parker on that back bumper, just beating and banging on that back bumper. He's going to push him to the lead. It's the two of them take advantage from that high line to come up. Now they're going to drive down to the double yellow line, and it will be Parker and Coleman. That looked like an orchestrated move out of a ballet or something, because they completely had that figured out.
Made it look very easy. Josh Parker, Chad Coleman, and we've got trouble on the tri-oval. One car getting spun into the outside wall, a couple others spinning down towards pit road. They're scattering all through the infield grass, and we quickly go to caution.
Yeah, it looks like Jimmy North in the 48 got a piece of that right in front of him. Thomas O'Leary in the 08, as we'll pull up a replay of it. But, yeah, trouble early here. Lap number 2 in event number 2. That's trouble for at least Jimmy North, who's one of those cars that needs to race his way in.
Opportunity 1 here in dual race number 2 to take a peek at a Fatheads Eyewear instant replay. We're going to focus in on that 08 of Thomas O'Leary, as he was running about mid-pack there, and you can see just great 2x2 racing all the way throughout the pack, and just a hard hit, hard right-hand turn on that outside wall. The 08 spinning around there. You see the 31 doing a good job of sliding through the grass. We'll back that up another time here, see if we can get a little bit of a slow-motion action view here from the 08 view, and you can see just kind of comes up in front of the 48 car here. The 48 gets a run on the outside, and it looks like they were just kind of battling for the same piece of real estate, that middle line, and across the 48 nose comes the 08. There you see Kevin Brown actually getting by scot-free on the outside. Kevin Brown winning himself a race here Saturday night in the Daytona Racing Super Speedway Series, brought to you by SIM500, and there you can see 71 of Gail Brooks getting a little bit of that piece of the 08. So a couple of damaged race cars in the back of dual race number 1, and we're actually taking a peek towards the way back of the pack. There's 3 cars, the 88, the 31, the 80, A.J. Browning, Eric Arnold, Tommy Gossett. Those guys have to race their way in, and they're back in the mid-20s of the field here. So long way to go, short time to get there for some of these drivers that have to race their way in here tonight.
Lap number 2, caution number 1 for race duel number 2. We're running around here with Chad Coleman as our leader. Let's go back and talk about that start, Kyle. They jumped up to the high side. They hooked up nose to tail. We talked about, with the drivers from the first race, what could they learn from watching this race? Somebody had to write in their notebook about how that start went for those 2 drivers.
It was a very similar start to what we saw in that first dual race from Brian Macklin and Adam Gilliland, only these 2 drivers here, they didn't stay around the top side through the entirety of the opening lap. They were able to drop down very quickly on the back straightaway, and it also helps when you're starting just on the outside of the top 5 as well. So great strategy move. It really seems like almost as if, Kevin, that there's a slight form of tandem drafting being able to work in this package. You can get 2 cars to work together to kind of get through the field and pull out to the front of the pack. You can't really separate and actually break off into the scattered tandems all over the racetrack like we used to see, about 10 or so years ago in the real NASCAR world. But it definitely seems like there's a benefit to being able to hook up to somebody and push drafting them through the field.
Yeah, one curiosity that we'll have to follow up for next week is, does it make the second car run hot? I know in the sim there were times when we saw 2 drivers get nose to tail, but they could only do it for a short period of time, then they had to duck out just like the real world. get some air on the nose of that car, or the car would run hot. But I would suspect, as these cars were riding around for the start, that they had not come up to temperature yet. And that was the opportunity to use that as the field forms up behind the pace car. Pace car has the lights out. That means we're going to go green here on lap number 5. After caution on lap number 1 for an incident with the 0848 coming together. Multiple cars involved, but we've racked them. And we want to remind you, if you just joined us, as you see the cars going around the track, look at the ticker, the scoring up on the top. If the cars are listed, drivers are listed in all capitals, they're the drivers that have to race their way in. 4 drivers will transfer into the main event next week, and you're looking for the drivers with capital letters on the scoring monitor. That tells you who has to get further forward in order to make the show. And Kyle, some of these drivers, they look at these laps ticking off, and it's taken away their opportunity.
Yeah, that it does. With every lap that passes by under caution is one last lap under green that you have to work with, and it's an opportunity. It's what, 47, 48 seconds around this racetrack under green flag conditions. So that's a lot of time to be able to work your way through and make a move and get yourself into this event. We're going to get back to green flag racing, though. Here we go. 5 down, 25 laps to go. It's Chad Coleman on the bottom, Josh Parker up on the top side. Coleman's got help from the 99 machine of Tommy Rhyne behind, and Jason Barham in the 83 helping Josh Parker on the top side as they work their way through the gears and coming up to speed into turn number 1. Looks like Coleman's got the advantage down on the bottom, but Barham all over the back bumper of the Interstate Batteries number 23 Toyota Camry, and will come off at turn number 2. And this is where we're going to start to see that outside line get a little bit of a run and try to make a charge back at Coleman for the lead.
Just like in the first duel, these cars are a little bit nervous. As they come up to speed, they're going to move in, left, right, in the draft, and they're also going to have cars right on their back bumper, possibly pushing them out of shape. But right now, everybody in solid formation. I'm interested to look at a lot of the cars that need to race their way in are running in that 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're all almost nose to tail all the way through.
We saw that third line is an option to be used if you get cars up there so far. Everybody kind of playing it calm, playing it easy, keeping themselves into 2 lines around this racetrack. Josh Parker was able to clear Chad Coleman on the bottom. He drops down, and now that duo is lined up once again. Jason Barham is going to lead the top side. He's getting a drafting help from Jose Gonzalez in car number 26. Barham only able to get side-by-side with the 38 of Coleman for second, so they are going to stick with Josh Parker in the race lead. Very even throughout this field, only a few cars kind of hanging on to the draft in the background, but the majority of the field right up here in this lead pack as lap 7 goes complete.
Yeah, this is the calmest we've seen it. Everybody just kind of riding in formation. It almost looks like a pace lap. First car to jump out is Kevin Brown. He's up to the outside there, back about the 8th, 10th position. That silver car with the rainbow colors up to the high side as he's trying to see if he can get somebody to dance with him. The number 80, not interested in that, tucks underneath and takes it over that position that Kevin was occupying. Kevin's still hanging tough to the outside, though.
Kevin Brown will be racing himself for a championship in the SIM500 Racing Super Speedway Series that happens on Saturday nights. Now trying to make some showtime here tonight happen in this event. He is, of course, locked in to this 500K, but so far the outside triumph is all for naught. He's going to fall all the way towards the back of this pack and fall in line to the outside line and have to try to work on that one again. You're riding on board with Josh Parker, kind of in the middle of the 2 lines right here, getting a good look as to how tight this lead draft is, and one car getting off pace. That's the 48 machine of Jimmy North. He was involved in that first caution. He's going to pull out of the way and not cause any harm for these race leaders. Coming off of turn number 4 now, Jason Barham, your new race leader, comes down in front of Josh Parker. Now he's going to try to work the outside line and keep Jose Gonzalez behind him. Goes back to the top side. Parker will get underneath and contest for the lead once again.
Yeah, Barham helped us last week with the broadcast, and he said that was the most exciting thing he's ever done. He was able to watch that the drivers do what they're doing, and he's putting it to good use here running in that outside lane. As I'm looking at these drivers trying to race their way in, watching the 95 of Josh Williams running 14th right now. He is he and Tommy Gossett in the 80 right there near him are the cars that are odd out right now. Brian Cook, Bob Gillenwater, DJ Beverly, and Byron Daley are the 4 cars in, but I suspect we're going to see that change every lap, Kyle.
A third of the way through this second duel, you're absolutely right. Cars switching positions, switching lanes, mixing it up each and every lap around this 2.5-mile Daytona International Speedway. Now we're starting to see that third line form up. It's being led by the 33 of Byron Daley, the Valvoline Chevrolet Camaro. Now he comes back to the middle line, and Tommy Gossett in the 80 will lead that line. Kevin Brown right there on the back bumper. Look at how much of a charge they are making, those 2 cars. Slowly but surely working their way up. Now the 63 jumped up to the top side. There's a hole in the middle, and Tommy Gossett takes it, leaves the 63 up there with the 93 of Kevin Brown. So now it is the 63 machine leading that line. And we've got now the 80 of Gossett goes back up top. He wants to try to get the momentum going again.
Tell you, great move by Gossett, just trying to get himself forward. He was odd man out at this point, but he's got himself in that high line, and he's up there contesting for the lead. Is 1 car on the apron. I think we're going to see, well, I don't know how they got away with that.
Tommy Rhyne used the entirety of turns 1 and 2 to save that Patriot Fighter Chevrolet Camaro, but he did it, and we stay green flag racing. A scary moment there. We had a save similar to that one in the first duel, and now we have a repeat performance here in duel number 2, so he's going to lose a lot of track position. It'll split the field up a little bit, but we stay green. Lap number 12 will go in the books, side-by-side battle for the lead with Jason Barham and Josh Parker.
Yeah, nod to Timothy Johnson for not running him over, able to get on the binders and not get into the back of him and cause a caution. And boy, Ryan drove that thing from about the middle of the turn to the backstretch, but that cost Timothy Johnson quite a bit. Good thing for Johnston, he's in the show. But what it did do, Kyle, is stretch the field out. These drivers are not all in that tight pack right now. Some of those drivers out in the back are going to have to race their way forward.
And I think looking at the drafting distances between these packs, they should be able to sniff the draft off of each other and form back up. Now we're going to go 3 wide for the race lead. Josh Parker's hung out in the middle. He's got Byron Daley to help him out. Took him a little bit to get to him, but the help's going to come a little too late. Parker's going to lose the battle for the lead. Barham's going to come down. Now he's going to try to squeeze.
That's not going to work.
Beating and banging, sliding, it doesn't work. We've got cars crashing in turn number 1. It's the big one in duel number 2, and the caution flag is out. My, oh my, Kevin. I think Josh got a little carried away with the aggression there, and we got a lot of cars wadded up.
Yeah, 4 wide, that was not going to work. I had my eyes closed because I could see that one coming from over here. No doubt that was going to be the case. So we'll go over to Paul for a replay.
Yeah, man, oh man, just Josh, you can see exactly what Josh was trying to do. He was trying to hold on to that top line there. You can see from the chopper view, just bounces off the inside of the 83 and the 93, the 83 and the 93 and the 83 and the 93, and then the 23 goes sideways and unfortunately collects just about everybody behind him. Kevin Brown gets by the leader. Chad Coleman gets by. Byron Daley in the 33, he gets by scot-free, but it looks like everybody else behind the top 3 or 4 cars here got at least a little bit of piece of the action. So, man, just a really tough break, but you really can't fault Parker for it. He was leading the race. He kind of just made a quick little mishap there, and you can see they were racing 3 wide. And as he was kind of dropping back in the middle of the pack, that's really not where you want to be, especially halfway through this race. Doesn't give you enough time to kind of work your way up through the top. So just real tough scenario to be in, and kind of bouncing off the 2 lead drivers here, spinning himself out. Looks like we backed it up just a little bit too far here, so we'll fast forward just a little bit. And there you can see just a couple of hard hits in there too. So there you can see the 23, the 83 nosing it up, the 26 as well there. Gets tagged again, and a lot of drivers towards the back as well, kind of locking the brakes up. So tough break for a lot of these guys, especially Josh Parker. Luckily, he's already in for the 4th annual running of the Daytona 500K next Monday night here on the Dane TV.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Kyle, if you saw the 22 did a little jump there, went across one of those drainage basins in the car, did a wheelie out front, and great job by that number 12 to drive through that. Got on the binders, Scott Sibley was able to get down, and cars were coming left, coming right, coming left, and able to drive right around that, as we'll see a lot of action down there on pit road.
Yeah, you can see a plethora of cars coming down for damage repair on their ride. Some of the guys in the back coming down just for some fresh equipment to see if maybe that'll help them out here in the longevity of this dual event. Really, it looks like at the moment the only couple of drivers, it seems, that are taken out of this event. Obviously, the 23 at Josh Parker, he's off the lead lap, still down on pit road. But kind of surprised to see that Tommy Gossett has climbed out of his car. I saw he was involved in that incident a little bit. It didn't look like he had a ton of damage, but maybe it was a little bit worse than what it appeared. He has decided to climb out, and unfortunately for Gossett, he is one of the go or go home cars. So he, unfortunately, is going to go home. Don Runkle has already retired from this event. He will not compete in next week's race. And I believe the same can be said, well, it could potentially be said for that 48 car of Jimmy North. He is still on the racetrack, but he is 8 laps down trying to hang on. AJ Browning has left. He is another car that will not race. So starting to see some of those race-in cars starting to lose their opportunities here, which has to make you feel a little bit more comfortable if you're like a Bob Gillenwater or a Byron Daley, Stefan Marinak, who are up inside the top 10, knowing that you have to race your way in.
Yeah, for sure. And I was looking at TJ Beverly's 01. That car looks clean. The Coastal Safety Auditor's Camaro looks good. He's just kind of hanging back, biding his time. And I agree with you, Kyle. The attrition of some of these drivers. Now, if you're Jimmy North, what do you got to lose? I've seen drivers ride around, and they have the big one and eliminate enough cars that you end up just puttering your way through. So if I'm him, I'm just going to try and get to the checkered flag and see if I can squeak myself some way to sneak into the show.
Well, and we saw that strategy work out for Donny Lia in that first dual race. He had some damage early on. It made it difficult for him to stick with the lead pack. Then final caution flag of the race comes out. Pedro Mojica gets caught up in it. Severe damage, doesn't come into pit, and Donny Lia is able to get his way into the show just by surviving. Now, Jimmy North is probably going to need a little bit more fortune than that, seeing that he is 8 laps off of the lead pace, but you never know. That's the uncertainty with super speedway racing, and things could turn around and work in his favor, and he could still qualify for this Daytona 500K. So the lights are off on top of the iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car. We're going to go green this time once we complete lap number 17. So we'll have 13 laps to go here in this second and final dual race. It is Chad Coleman that is out in front of the field right now in car number 38. Kevin Brown, who was trying to get that top side working, couldn't find the success in doing so, gets through that crash. He now lines up in position number 2. Bob Gillenwater leading the way for the go or go home drivers in this one. He is in 3rd. Bobby Wetzel in position number 4. Stefan Marinak, another go or go homer. He is in position number 5. Then Scott Simley, Timothy Johnston, Josh Williams, Richard Beasley, and Doug Roth completing your top 10.
Take a moment to tell you this race is brought to you by Transervice Transportation and Logistics Solutions. For 50 years, Transervice provides proven, innovative solutions. Look for them for authentic partnership approach to 5 major offerings. Transervice.com, a history of service, a tradition of excellence. Pace cars in, getting ready to restart. Lap number 17, 30 laps is the distance. Cars coming up through the gears as they head off to turn number 1. It is a chaotic start, Kyle. Everybody all over the place.
Big hole opened up on the top side. Stefan Marinak and Richard Beasley decide to fill that. They go up to the top side. They are 3rd and 4th line in line on that outside groove. Now the top side starting to bunch up a little bit as they come off of turn number 2. Pretty even up at the front of the field. Kevin Brown starting to surge ahead. He's getting some drafting help from Bobby Wetzel in car number 9. And it looks like Brown is going to clear Chad Coleman. He does and drops down to the bottom, leaving Bobby Wetzel, the new leader on that outside line, still side by side for 2nd. But here comes Stefan Marinak to provide some help to the number 9 Chevy Camaro.
Yeah, we look at the comers and goers. Well, how about Stefan Marinak, then number 24? He did come up there, is running 4th right now, was out of the loop before that caution, and now finds himself the first car driving his way in. And Bobby Wetzel, he started 20th. Kevin Brown started 22nd. So some of those drivers This shows the opportunity, Kyle, to drive your way in from deep in the pack here in a restrictor plate race.
Definitely no excuses for starting positions. We've seen in these duels how quickly some of these drivers are able to work their way up through the field, and it'll be interesting to watch that in next week's 500-kilometer race, see how aggressive some of the guys that are starting in the back of the field get to try to work their way up towards the front in that much longer event. Kevin Brown now holding full control of the race lead. That outside group starting to struggle just a little bit. Bobby Wetzel not able to challenge him for the lead, and Brown will lead lap number 19. Kevin Brown definitely seems to be a well-versed super speedway racer here, Kevin. He's going to race for a championship, as we mentioned, in the Saturday Night Super Speedway Series. He has won 3 races in that series this season. He's won the last 2, and now we're seeing him up in front of this dual race. It is no denying that he is a very good super speedway racer.
Yeah, there's a couple drivers in this series that are take no prisoners. EJ O'Rourke in that first race, he didn't make a lot of noise, but typically any given week, he's just a hard charger, and you got to put Brown in that category running up front. Just anywhere he goes, he's running wide open all the way through. I'm looking back there at the number 33, first car, odd man out for that potential to get themselves in. That's Byron Daley running 14th right now. Still, right there, you can see it in the shot at the back end of that lead pack. Anything can happen to get himself up there, but time is running out. Laps are ticking down.
9.5 laps remain in this final duel event. You can see that Byron Daley, the last car on the bottom line in that number 33 Valvoline ride, trying to race his way in. The 01 and DJ Beverly right there, the white and blue number 01 machine. That is the final car in. So there's the Tommy Rhyne machine in between those two cars. And you can see how aggressive Byron Daley is trying to get to make some passes. He knows that he is not in a transfer position at the moment. He needs to get there, and he wants to do it as quickly as he can. He doesn't want to wait until the last minute and potentially have his plan backfire on him, and he is out. He would rather be in on the final lap of the race instead of trying to chase his way from being on the outside.
Stricken car, Jimmy North down there on the apron. Everybody's going to go by cleanly. And I see Glenn Campbell tucked right in on the back end in that Transervice Camaro, the number 44. Could that be the ally to the 33? Thought maybe he was going to tuck in on the bumper and try to help that car, but now he's going to ride down underneath and steal the position from him. Not what Byron wants to see. Is there are elbows up front here in the pack. Brown continues to lead, and I believe he's going to do whatever it takes to get the victory here tonight, Carl.
Starting to see a lot more movement inside this lead path. The further along in this race we go, down to 8 laps left. That top side starting to show some strength once again. In the turns, it is leading the field with Bobby Wetzel. Kevin Brown slowly takes that back as they come off the turn. Chad Coleman all over the back bumper of that number 93. Stefan Marinak leaving a little bit of space on the bumper to Bobby Wetzel, and you can see how much of an advantage that gives Kevin Brown down on the bottom. He's able to clear Wetzel. Coleman is trying to do the same thing, and if he does, will he jump up to the top side of the track and try to take the lead? We know how much Chad Coleman likes being out in front of races, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He will come up in front of the number 9 of Bobby Wetzel. Wetzel going to drop the hammer and bump him up. He's not able to lead that lap, but he's going to go side by side with Kevin Brown to try to take back the race lead.
Yeah, 3 wide out in the back with the 33 is contact by the Brown car. Beasley's going to get through, and they're going to stack up the entire pack over there.
Big one, number 2, and duel number 2, and it takes out a lot of strong contenders. Chad Coleman is involved. Kevin Brown, Stefan Marinak, Bob Gillenwater, 2 drivers that are trying to race their way in. I think Josh Williams got a small piece of it. Doesn't look like that 95 has a lot of damage. He is a goer, go homer. We've got a lot of damaged race cars in turn 1, Paul.
Big bada boom, number 2. And you can see the 9 car, Bobby Wetzel, gets a little bit sideways, loses the back end of that race car, clips the back quarter panel of the 93. There you can see Richard Beasley, pretty much the only car to get by. Chad Coleman gets hooked. The 95 gets hooked. He was trying to race his way in, as was the number 4 that you saw in there. There's the 01, I believe, down in the grass. Stephen Marinak in the 24, Stefan Marinak. He's racing for himself a super speedway championship on Saturday nights. He's going to find himself 4th place here. Kevin Brown involved in this wreck as well. Tough break for him because he's running up front. Very, very strong super speedway series racer here. And, You can see the front end of that car is absolutely toast. Not what you want to see here with 5 laps to go here at Daytona International Speedway, but luckily it looks like he has already raced his way in. We'll take another quick look at the replay. We'll do it in slow motion too, and you can see just there's a little bit of a wiggle there from the 9 car on the outside of the second car on the outside line, just right behind Chad Coleman. Loses the back end of the race car, a little bit of a wiggle, and just taps the 93, Kevin DeBrown, gets him sideways, and man, calamity ensues after that. And just Richard Beasley, nice clean all the way through there on that Tide ride. Doing a great job, Tide Tim's Corner Motorsports on that ride. And doesn't really look like there's too many cars that made it through without at least getting a little bit of a caved-in bumper here, Kevin.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, and we see some of those cars that need to race their way in suffered some damage, but yeah, the 33, that car made it through without any problems. Byron Daley had a good run through it. He's got a little bit of damage, but not too bad, and yeah, all these cars going to hit the pit road, get the big hammers out for a couple of them and bang them out as calamity cornered there for a number of drivers. 26 laps in the books, so in that context, whoever comes out, Kyle, this is just a complete reset of the field.
Yeah, there's a great shot of pit road to see all the drivers that are getting their repairs. You can see the 22 machine. He is going to leave first. That is Nelson Rivera. Rivera is locked into the show. A couple more cars starting to come back out onto the racetrack. Lots of damaged vehicles in there that are trying to repair themselves and get back going. The first driver that did stay out is the 95 machine of Josh Williams. We made mention that he was
Yeah, it looks like Kyle's microphone went south there. The back of that 95, picking up where he was, is that the back of that car is tore up. So we saw in the first race cars with damage that stayed out did not have a good recovery. And you have to wonder whether that's a good strategy for that 95 with Josh Williams. But with a handful of laps and a potential for a green-white checker, it could actually pay off for him, as only the back of the car is missing. And yeah, we saw the 43 right in the middle of the mix of that crash, but apparently it just banged around. And that's the way it works sometimes, Kyle, is the cars get in there, but because they're going as fast as everybody around them, they kind of pinball off them, but don't suffer a lot of damage. And the 43 right now running in that second position doesn't look too bad.
And that's something that you see in the real Daytona races as well. Sometimes if you're kind of in the middle of the storm and the wreck happens around you, you just kind of happen to get swallowed up in it. Yeah, you're beating and banging off of some of the cars, but you're not really taking on a lot of damage. And that seems to be what the 43 of Doug Roth is going to try to work his way through. The 43 Camaro there doesn't look too bad, so he's going to try to compete with that one. He is locked into this race, so he's just trying to get himself a good starting spot for next week's event. But the 2 cars down on the bottom, the first 2 cars on that bottom line, Josh Williams and DJ Beverly, who I'm not sure if either of you guys checked that out, but DJ Beverly made an amazing drive to get through that wreck down on the bottom of the racetrack in through the grass in between turns 1 and 2. Kept that 01 Camaro completely clean, and he's going to have a great piece to contend with here to try to make this show.
Yeah, certainly smiled. Fortunes on that 01 of DJ Beverly. DJ, a veteran, been around a long time, just picked the right lane. And this is what I talked about earlier, right? That mental behavior where you come through and every once in a while you get in a situation where you're like, oh, man, I can't believe I got caught up in that. And another thing is, oh, I was out, and now look, I'm running in third with just a lap that goes. Yeah, every time you see that 43, you just can't imagine how iconic that car looks. Looks so great on the shot.
Got a bit of a different twist than what we're used to on the petty blue and red colors, but still looks very, very good. And he's going to try to race that one to a victory here in this second duel. 3 laps will remain when the green flag flies. Some of the cars at the back of the pack trying to get themselves grouped up to see what they can do to contend here. Josh Williams and Doug Roth, your front row. The green flag is out. Back to racing we go. Good start there by the 95 of Josh Williams. He's going to clear Doug Roth, but Roth does not have the hold to drop down on the bottom. DJ Beverly going to try to take the run to the outside, that he gets on the 95, and we got the 63 sideways. He's going to come back up the racetrack into the wall. Only car to spin, but the caution flag comes back out and we are set to go to overtime in this dual race as well.
Yeah, so the cars power off of turn number 2 and then lift off the gas, and they're going to coast down the back straightaway, and that's good news for the 95. I'll tell you what, Josh Williams did not get the greatest start. DJ Beverly had a good jump to the outside, was going to take the lead, but this caution might be the savior for the 95. Williams, Beverly, Daley, and Eric Arnold in the number 31 are the 4 drivers right now that are in the mix to qualify for the big show. On the out, looking in, is Brian Cook, Stefan Marinak, and Bob Gillenwater. And with this incident, well, that's going to reset the field as we're going to go to a green-white checker to complete this one here in dual race number 2.
Yeah, you can see from the chopper view here, it seemed like the back of the pack kind of checked up just a little bit, and a bunch of drivers just trying to go for the same piece of real estate, and unfortunately in both the simulated and the real world, that just doesn't work. Can't have 2 objects in the same spot at the same time, so tough break for some of these drivers in the back of the pack here on the restart, but definitely that orange and white machine, the number 63, tough break. That was a hard hit in the outside wall, and we'll see it here. You can see just 22 gets out of shape just a little bit. Big bump to the 63. Already heavy damage there. 24, Stefan Marinak gets involved as well. And there you see the 63 just plows the outside wall. And Kevin Brown making it kind of through there. But really just limping that modified through. There's no front end of that car. There's no back end of the race car. He's barely got any sheet metal on the side. But still plugging along and trying to finish out this race. Learn everything that he can. You definitely want to make sure that you know. I mean, if you have to know how the damaged race car is going to run in the big show, you may as well do it in the duels race because you know you're qualified in already for the big show next week, Kevin.
Yeah, I have to say, Paul, you got that part right. As some of these drivers, they know they're qualified in, and they're just running for the trophy here. And I look at it, Kyle, and say, far more eventful than that first event. These drivers are really up on this tonight. Just no quarter. When they're side drafting, they're down literally on the door next to them.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot more aggression out of the second dual race than we did in the first one, and kind of coming to a head here with setting up another green-white checkered finish. DJ Beverly, a phenomenal job on that restart to take the race lead from Josh Williams, and I got to say, there's definitely some concern for me for that 95 machine. Beverly made very quick work of that 95, so the damage on that machine might be a little bit more than what Josh has realized, and he might struggle to compete here, but we didn't really get a good opportunity to know for sure what that car can do with all the damage on it. So hopefully they can get a much better restart this upcoming attempt at a finish for this race, and it'll give Josh Williams a clearer picture whether he's going to have something to contend with or if he's going to be a sitting duck hoping that he can find a way to make this show.
Well, this provides complications for some. It provides opportunity for others. You see Bob Gillenwater in that number 4 just pull off a pit road. Apparently he had quite a bit of damage from that other incident, and he just spent quite a long time down there letting his crew get that car as strong as could be. And now we see him come up off of the apron. He's going to come to the track and come back in. So maybe that'll resurrect that car and make it a little more competitive now that it's got some more damage fixed.
Lights are off on the iRacing pace car. We're going to try it once again. And DJ Beverly decides to take the top side as the control car for the restart. So that's going to put Josh Williams down on the bottom. Chad Coleman is third. Eric Arnold, another driver trying to race his way in, is in position in number 4. So 3 of the top 4 cars are go or go home cars. The 4th car in line to make the show at the moment is the number 33 of Byron Daley, back in position number 9. So green-white checkered finish incoming. Strap in, folks. This is going to get wild. Who will make it? Who is going to watch this race with us on Vidane TV? We're only a few moments away from finding out for sure.
For some of these drivers, this all comes down to this last lap. They're just going to hope that the racing gods are going to smile on them and let them get to that finish. Other drivers are looking to get their first win of the season. And, yeah, everybody has their reasons to run whatever they can. And, I look back at like a 44 of Glenn Campbell running back in the mix. You can't count anybody out at a super speedway, Kyle. Anybody could come in and sneak away a win here. All kinds of things happen on these final green-white checkers.
So here we go. Let's see what this field's got for him. Green-white checkered attempt. It is out, and we are underway. DJ Beverly, great start up on the top side. He's going to work his way through the gears, up to speed, trying to clear the bottom line and propel himself into the lead. He's got a great push going from the 31 of Eric Arnold. Tommy Rhyne in the 99. He's worked his way back to the front of the field. He's trying to get around, and Chad Coleman trying to do as much as he can with the 95 of Josh Williams, but it is not working.
Yeah, and the driver's got to push the issue is the 24 of Stefan Marinak. He's out right now in the back of that pack trying to push his way through. Good run for the 95. He's been able to stay up there there are juking and jiving all the way through that field. Here comes the 24 to the outside, to the back bumper of the number 10, trying to race his way up as Beverly leads the pack coming in to pick up the white flag.
Final time around the Daytona International Speedway, it's DJ Beverly and Tommy Rhyne out in front of the field. They are 3 wide in the heart of the pack behind them, trying to juke and jive and race it out for position. Who is going to get in? Look at the 33 of Byron Daley all the way at the top of the racetrack, trying to get a push from Richard Beasley to transfer into the show.
Yeah, up front, there's really not too much to see. The top two have broken away. They're running nose to tail. We'll keep an eye on both races. Who's going to win this thing and who is going to qualify, as they're 3 wide going into 3 out in the back with the cars that are trying to race their way in. And how about DJ Beverly just holding a pretty wheel? Is Byron up in the fence? Will that open the opportunity for somebody to sneak in as Beverly crosses to pick up the win?
Multiple cars crashing and sliding across the line at the finish of the race, but it is DJ Beverly to pick up the win in dual race number 2. He beats Tommy Rhyne by 59 thousandths of a second. He will race in the Daytona 500K next week. Eric Arnold finishes in position number 3. He's going to the big dance. Kyle Tarasco will finish 4th. Scott Simley completes your top 5. The damage ride of the 95 of Josh Williams was enough. He finishes 6th. He transfers in. Nelson Rivera is in position number 7 and grabbing that 4th and final transfer spot despite the near loss off of turn number 4. Byron Daley finishes 8th. He gets in. Thomas O'Leary, the 4th, is in 9th, and Richard Beasley matches his car number and finishes 10th.
Going back and looking at what happened in that final event, unfortunately, Kevin Brown and the 33 got together while the 33 of Byron Daley was trying to make a move, make something happen to the outside. He got stuck to the outside and really wasn't a factor to try and see if he could race his way as the final driver get qualified. So, yep, we have done it. We know it was a nail-biter all the way through, but we now have set the field for next week's race.
The field is completely set. We started at 58 cars. We lined it down to 43 or so. The field will be completed now for next week's Daytona 500K. The drama, the excitement, the frustration, the heartbreak of dual night is complete, and we know who is going to be on the grid and who will not be for next week's Daytona 500K. I believe, Paul, I think I heard that right. Is it a 120-lap event next week to kick off this season opener?
Thereabouts. It comes out to 500K, whatever a K stands for, but pretty excited to, just really excited. We got a small taste of what's going to go on next week in that 500K race at Daytona. We just saw 2 races with half the field sizes of what we're going to see next week. Next week, we're going to see the action of these 2 Transervice dual races combined into one with a much longer distance. You want to talk about action-packed? You better bring yourself an extra drink or 2 next Monday night. You're going to be needing it for sure.
And the feel-good story here tonight has to be DJ Beverly starting the season off with a positive way to go into the big race with a win here in duel number 2. And we're able to see if we can get connection. He's going to do some donuts down there, and now we'll get him to Victory Lane, and we'll see if Kyle Young can catch up with DJ down there in Victory Circle.
Indeed, I have DJ Beverly, winner of dual race number 2. A very exciting race for you, DJ. You get the victory here. You had to race your way in, and you did it the best way you could. Not only did you make the goal to make the field, but you went out there and you won the race. Talk us through it all.
How about that, man? That was wild. Oh, man. Had to thank Tommy Rhyne, Thomas O'Leary, the whole team, Randy Oakham, Jeff Ryan, all them guys, man. I took about 9 months off, threw this rig back together. They just got me come back out and play a little bit, and ever since I came back, I've been getting wrecked and just down and out, and I reckon the monkey's off my back.
I would say that's a pretty fair bet to make. DJ, during that massive crash in turns 1 and 2, you had a terrific avoidance going from the middle of the racetrack through the field down into the grass. You got through the wreck, and it was ultimately a major reason why you were able to win this race and transfer on. Take me through that avoidance. It looked pretty wild from your view.
Yeah, I couldn't see nothing, man. I was on the brake and keying up, telling Tommy behind me that they're wrecking, and what happened after that, it wasn't me. Something else did it. I just got lucky. You know, you can't be unlucky all your life, I guess.
So a much different story coming in to next week's race. It is a 500-kilometer event, much longer than this 30-lapper. What do you think needs to happen in order to put that 01 machine in victory lane once again when it matters next Monday?
Tons of luck, man. I don't know. You don't know where to be. You know, it's just like real life. You ride in the back, get wrecked, and ride in the middle. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Sounds like a very relaxed strategy going into the Daytona 500K coming up next Monday night. DJ, a victory here on Duel Night. Who would you like to thank for parking that 01 ride in victory lane?
Oh yeah, especially Joey, man. They put a lot of work in this league. I was able to hang out with him and feed him some beers and everything. Super good guy for putting all this on, and y'all for doing the broadcast. And I know it's kind of late. I done drank about 3 cups of coffee. I'm out of breath.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Winner of duel number 2 for the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series here at Daytona International Speedway. He had to race his way in to make the show, and he does that by going to victory lane. DJ Beverly, your victor here in duel number 2. Well, Kevin, that is going to complete a very busy night for us here tonight. Some great super speedway action. We have a field set for this 500-kilometer race next Monday night. A lot of drivers are happy. Some of them are heartbroken. But either way, a lot of the stress of duel night is over, and we look forward to the big show now come 1 week from tonight.
I'm just super excited to get the season started. I love watching these guys race, and to start at Daytona is just the place to be. And yeah, DJ Beverly, you can't be lucky all your life, I guess. That's going to be a greek quote to carry through the week. And, you know, it's a feel-good story with DJ getting the win. There's times when you see drivers that don't make the headlines, and it makes it all the sweeter when they get a win here tonight. And he certainly owes a debt of gratitude to Tommy Rhyne, who pushed him through. Tommy didn't even peek out there on that last lap. But Tommy had a good accolade himself, getting a pole here for this race. And I'm sure the two of them are going to look forward to a really exciting race next week, and we are too. I'm stoked. I'm ready to get this season going. You know, with the season hampered last year by COVID, and COVID still raging here in the United States. You're looking for some outlets of it, and I'm super excited to get the sim racing season going.
Well, it will all kick off next Monday night here for the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. But, of course, with how the sim racing world works, Paul, we still have plenty of other things going on in the works and upcoming on our schedule. What's the rest of the week look like for us here on Vidane TV?
Busy, busy, busy. Lots of stuff going on here at Vidane TV. But, man, how about DJ Beverly? How about that passion, man? It's been a long time since we've heard an interview like that where you could just feel that driver wanted to win. It just super excited. It really gets you pumped up for next week, man. I'm super excited to have this Transervice Cup Series on board here with Verdane TV for the entirety of the season. I'm going to be racing with these guys all the way through the month of November. How cool is that? Every single Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Very, very cool. Very excited. But, man, we got some awesome stuff coming up here this week. The RBR Maritime Group, they're going to be jumping on tomorrow night for the Apex Tire 150 at the Bull Ring. Talking to Greg Tolley now, getting the final details ranked up and inked in about that race for tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Going to be kicking off the single car qualifying. Pretty cool little ditty that those guys do on Tuesday night. Wednesday night, the Showtime Cup Series, they're coming back to us here at Verdane TV Live, and we want to welcome aboard their brand new series sponsor, Fatheads Eyewear. Check them out at fatheads.com. Some cool stuff on there. Tony Stewart's Smoke line is on there for his prescription glasses frames on there, so pretty cool to have those guys on board. Thursday, Friday, check that. We're off. Gonna want to hang out, probably have a couple of beers Thursday night, watch the NASCAR Duels on Fox. Looking forward to that, man. I'm really excited to have NASCAR season kick back off here again. And Friday night, nothing in the books right now, but Saturday night, picking it right back up where we left off. SIM500 Verdane Racing Super Speedway Series action coming at you, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Man, we saw Kevin Brown win his third race of the season. He's locked himself into the championship fatal four-way, and we heard him talk on Saturday night. He's going to try and help some teammates, maybe move them into the championship bracket, the final four. And man, just Rowdy Wesley Hogue, our very own here at Verdane TV, trying to race his way into that championship. He needs to win the next race to get himself in there. Finished second in the championship standings back in 2014 to Ian Plash and last season to Jared Bolliard. So he's hungry. He wants that championship belt. He wants that free street stock rental from Rent a Race Car at Stafford Motor Speedway on June 11th. And then you can see Monday right back here next Monday. It's 24 hours times 7. There's some math in there. 7 nights away. SIM500 Transervice Cup Series kicks off officially. The points season that's going to run all the way through November here at Verdane TV with the 4th annual Daytona 500K. Very excited to have. You can feel it. You can feel the excitement growing for next Monday night. These guys are pumped, showing off lots of gorgeous and brand new paint schemes all over the Facebook page. And be sure to check out the SIM500 Esports Sim Racing League page on Facebook. That's where all of your news updates are going to come from this particular series. So lots of stuff coming up here at Verdane TV. Like we've made mention on past broadcasts, at least 4 to 5 races every single week here through at least the month of May. And then we got to renew some of our contracts, and we've actually got some pretty cool stuff in the works here as well. Something total makeover. Well, we got some cool stuff in the works here, but we're going to call it a night. It's getting late. Going to have a couple more beers here in the infield at Talladega Super Speedway, Talladega, Alabama. Thank you guys so much for coming out here for Transervice, for SIM500, Verdane TV, for Showtime, Paul Strickland Jr. That's me, Kevin England, Kyle Young, and everybody here at SIM500. Thank you guys so much for watching on YouTube and on Facebook. Give us a like, give us a shout, give us a share, give us a follow, all that good social media stuff, and let your friends know that you just watched some entertaining internet racing here on Verdane TV. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. When we do, we're going to be doing it live right here on Verdane TV.